I told him, as a father, I'm walking up on you.
Right.
I get it, because I'm like that too. Like I'm at you. I've done it.
What it is.
I've crashed out over mine. I will continue to crash out over mine. Right or wrong. I'm crashing out over mine.
Right or wrong. And
because you see your kid.
Exactly.
You see how it affects him.
You don't see a teammate.
Yeah, you don't see that. So Bron was like Stephen A said, that was a father. And two, Bron is my guy, but Bron did put some extra heat on Bronny.
Yeah.
When Bron put out that tweet about him, he better than these cats in the NBA.
That was my thing.
He started the media. They checked that. They was like, oh, okay,
right.
D Wade reacts to the LeBron and Stephen A. Smith confrontation. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
Your thoughts on this wild situation all over the world is to hear what y'all got to say about this.
He's the guest, man. Come on. He's on the couch.
I have a personal relationship with Stephen A. Obviously, my relationship with Bron and my relationship with Bron is documented.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I have a relationship with Stephen A as well.
Keep it
and
real,
so
bro.
we talk. You know what I mean? I'm not talking out of school. Me and him text back and forth about the situation. And just, to be candid and honest, I told him, it's dual sides once again. You know what I mean? I think you understand both sides if you're that person who wants to understand both sides. I told him, as a father, I'm walking up on you.
Right.
I get it, because I'm like that too. Like I'm at you.
Of course.
But also, what I told him, I said, and I think we've never seen LeBron do that. Like we've never seen, like LeBron don't even go back at players that foul him too hard on the court. We've never seen him be like, he's always been just even keel and level headed in every aspect. And sometimes you want him to jump. Sometimes you want him to go, and he won't. And so to watch the clip and watch him on that bench and see Stephen A over there, he couldn't take it.
Oh.
Yeah, I think LeBron, he overreacted. I get it. Don't want nobody talking about your peoples like that. But still, LeBron, he's been flawless as far as how he's maneuvered in the media off the court. So we don't hear too much stuff about LeBron. So by him doing this, and I think personally, it was more of an ego thing for LeBron. Yeah, he brought up Bronny, Stephen A, but he's been walking on eggshells, not critiquing Bronny, even though it was right there in front of his face. Stephen A always directed his energy toward LeBron James.
I mean,
he could not stand it.
They got the memo. Yo, Stephen A, he coming tonight. He coming to the game tonight.
He knew it, because he saw him in warm up when he walked in. You know what I mean? But it was burning him. But I told him, I said, Stephen A, I think the one thing is, and first of all, I take it as that's a sign of respect that LeBron did that to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know
he knows the power of Stephen A's voice.
He understands
also.
that. And I told him, I said, and that's the thing. Your microphone is the loudest. Your platform is the biggest. And also you're a black man.
Yeah.
And I said, so you got to understand, where he's coming from with that. If he even approached you, because yes, the Skip Bayless of the world and all these guys have said things about him his entire career, and he's been above it. He stayed quiet above it and did his thing. And so that meant something. That's respect right there for everything you built. We know Stephen A from Quite Frankly. We know Stephen A when he was on the come up.
Yeah.
Of course, the narrative's going to be spun in LeBron's favor, and those are his homies, so I expect them to, stand up with LeBron against Stephen A to some capacity. But if you're LeBron, why not pull him aside? You've seen all the footage, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he misread a quote or didn't see the full context of videos. But LeBron, he could have really pulled Stephen A aside, didn't have to make that scene, or maybe he wanted to make a scene like that.
And so that's respect, but also too, it's a touchy situation because we've never seen this before. We've never seen this before when it comes to son, father. What do you say? What don't you say? It's a right answer, but I would have walked up on him and said something too.
I think there's no right answer here. There's no right answer here, right?
There's no right answer.
At first, if you're Stephen A, like, bro, you're doing, at the end of the day, Stephen A is doing what Stephen A is supposed to do. He's doing his job. The moment, and all credit to him. Stephen A has never said anything about Bronny up until he became a Laker. Didn't say anything about him when he was in high school. Didn't say about him in USC. Didn't say nothing about him through any of that stuff. So now when you in the situation where your peers are people I talk about and talk to every single day, it's his job to, critique him as an athlete.
But Stephen A really hasn't been doing his job when it comes to critiquing Bronny. He didn't really talk about him in high school, didn't talk about him in college, only started talking about him when the NBA draft was coming up last season. And then with the whole manipulation of the draft, Clutch Sports, making sure Bronny was a part of the Lakers, that's the only time you really heard Stephen A talk about Bronny. Summer League didn't really play good. Preseason wasn't playing good, but Stephen A, he refused to talk about Bronny out of respect to LeBron. So when he just said as a parent, you got to stop this, make sure Bronny's in the G League. He shouldn't be playing. Me personally, I don't mind mind Bronny playing. It's just more content to really put out there. But still, he didn't really come at LeBron as a parent. But, LeBron, he took it that way.
But I'm sure we've all been in a situation where you are liable to crash out over your kid no matter
I've done
what it is.
I've crashed out over mine. I will continue to crash out over mine. Right or wrong. I'm crashing out over mine.
Right or wrong. And
because you see your kid.
Exactly.
You see how it affects him.
You don't see a teammate.
Yeah, you don't see that. So Bron was like Stephen A said, that was a father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was point blank period, a father that that he knows his son. He knows if it has affected his son in any way. Mm-hmm. They have conversations in their household. That was strictly a father. That was not LeBron James, one of the greatest players we've ever seen. That was strictly a dad. And from a dad perspective, I'm at you. But from the perspective of you doing your job, you're not wrong for doing your job at all the way that Stephen A does his job. That's
again, Stephen A isn't doing his job because he's not, speaking on Bronny when it's, warranted. You got to walk on eggshells when you're speaking of LeBron or speaking about Bronny. And if, LeBron, he has an issue, you're going to have to run up on everybody because a lot of people are talking about Bronny James in way worse ways than Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has been cool, been cordial, never really crossed the line. And again, I just think his comments were taken out of context when it comes to LeBron. Yeah, you can crash out and do all that stuff, but if you're Bron, you got a lot on the line. So again, run up on everybody that said anything about Bronny James.
That's who he is, in a sense of everything he said. He did not talk about him in high school. He did not go see him in high school. He did not talk about him in college. He did none of those things. And two, Bron is my guy, but Bron did put some extra heat on Bronny.
Yeah.
When Bron put out that tweet about him, he better than these cats in the NBA.
That was my thing.
He started the media. They checked that. They was like, oh, okay,
right.
And so they waiting on something.
So Stephen A was on Gil's Arena, and Stephen A saw the clip of Richard Jefferson and LeBron talking, where I think you can make out LeBron saying I don't care what he says about me. But when he said, I'm coming to you as a father, that's when he was like, all right. And then Stephen A responded like, oh, so it was about you. It wasn't about Bronny. You know what I mean? So I think from that perspective, when it comes to what he says about, LeBron, putting him in an incredible situation where I said earlier, I don't think there's a right answer here. You know?
Again, that's what I was saying earlier. It's more of an ego thing. It's not about Bronny, or maybe a little bit is about Bronny, but the main thing is about LeBron, him being the greatest player ever, the perception of him out there in the media. So when someone kind of questions you, not speaking about Bronny, LeBron, he tried to spin it, change the narrative, and now we're talking about Stephen A. Smith disrespecting Bronny when he never did that.
We've never seen anything like this. You can't
separate church from state with that. You can't separate that. So
yes, you can.
There is a fine line of I am a father. Mm-hmm. But you can't separate the fact that he is your teammate as well. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's in this league to be critiqued. I just think this has been a build-up. We're talking 22 years. Mm-hmm. This ain't got nothing to do with Bronny. It's just the fact that Bronny is a part of the conversation now. And he also got to protect his seed. You get what I'm saying? You got to protect the kingdom, no matter how old he is.
Exactly. Carmelo, he get it. Wade get it. But of course, they know LeBron, so they're never going to side with the opposition, Stephen A. Smith. But the way that they're talking is it's more than Bronny James. It's 22 years of the media covering him in a non-favorable way. LeBron, he's finally speaking out. His time in the NBA is coming to an end, 22 years. So he's just going to stand on business and talk his talk. And then by, having Bronny within the conversation, this was a perfect opportunity for LeBron to crash out.
Right. He's Bronny. That's my dad. So Bron got to protect that. But there's also energy with those two and those crews. It's just as from over the years of just build up. This ain't no love relationship that we talk. This ain't no love friendship that we talk about.
They don't have a friendship,
right? So this is it is what it is in a sense, right? This just Stephen A. doing what he's supposed to do over the years. Bron doing what he's doing over the years, and this is what happens.
Yeah, they haven't been on the best of terms. Don't even think they've been on any terms, period, just as far as having a friendship. It's just a cool rapport thing. I see you, you see me. We shake hands and we keep it moving. That's why Stephen A. Smith, he wants to go off, but at the same time, he compresses it just because he knows if he goes at LeBron in any way, it's going to make major news. So he's trying his best to stay objective, critique when it's warranted. But again, when you throw Bronny in the mix, that's where things go crazy in the media. You can't talk about LeBron. You can't talk about Bronny. So in a sense, you can't really do your job to the best of your abilities.
Might get misconstrued. I might not like what you say. I might not with you. I ain't gonna deal with you. But the fact that I think the energy is because we dealing with two juggernauts in their respective fields, right? Bron being who he is, Stephen A being who he is. A lot of people don't know that history between those two. The only thing people know is what Stephen A may say or what he may not say. Bron has never spoken on any situation with Stephen A. So if I'm sitting there for 20 plus years and I'm just taking all of this information, all the shit that you've said to me is about me over the years, now my son is the trigger.
Yeah.
No matter what you said about him, that's the trigger. If you ain't saying nothing right, if you ain't standing up for him, that's the trigger.
Yeah, I respect that perspective. Again, it's just years of being talked about in the media. And then you put Bronny in the mix. Yeah, of course, that may be the breaking point, but that shouldn't be the end all be all of the conversation. Again, it's not about Bronny. It's about years of being in the media, him being talked down on, in his opinion. And then you got Bronny in the mix, and that just makes LeBron feel as though, you know what, it's time for me to crash out. But again, are you going to crash out on everybody in the media that has said things about you over the last 20 plus years and Bronny?
Whether anybody like it or not.
I think
right. I think Stephen A. handled it the right way in that situation because
no choice.
Somebody else who may not know LeBron, right, that's in the media space could have took that totally the wrong way and reacted differently and replied differently. Thanks. So it'd have been a bigger spectacle. The fact that Stephen A. understands what this is really about. Okay, I'm in a situation. I got so-and-so right here. I got so-and-so right here. Nah, I just signed 100. We ain't doing. All right, go ahead, champ. You got it.
Yeah,
you got it. I got to swallow my pride right now, but you.
I mean, what was you supposed? You ain't nobody fighting.
Yeah, Stephen A. definitely wasn't going to fight LeBron, and he had to handle his business only because same day, just signed on the dotted line, $100+ million. He's in the house with some major players in the Lakers building, so of course he wasn't going to go all out, but he didn't really keep that same energy, even on a verbal level. You seen him on his podcast, you seen him on Gil's Arena. He was really talking his talk, but when LeBron was in front of him, he kind of, cooled it down, let LeBron get the best of him within that heated moment. But he could have, been like, no, I was talking about you. I wasn't talking about Bronny, but Stephen A. did what he had to do to protect that bag.
Nobody fight, but also I can't even go back at you. I got to leave it alone. For sure. I got to just listen to you.
Yeah.
Because any wrong thing, anything that I say can trigger something else.
Yeah.
So we just got to leave that situation alone.
But here's the thing. Bronny needs criticism.
Yes.
We all need some form of criticism.
Yeah.
I think when it came from the way Stephen A. came, he was talking about LeBron as a father, but he was talking about Bronny at the same time. It felt personal.
Yeah.
And I think it was the way that he said it. If you watching that and you LeBron, it came on personal to you,
and
even though Stephen A.
enough is enough.
Yeah, and it just boiled up. You saw he was on the bench sitting there. He looked to the side a couple times, and
I think Knicks was still up at that point.
He was just sick. He was sick, and it was a moment. Now, like Stephen A. said, he could have got him out of the game. He could have said, I want to talk to you after the game. He could have walked up to him and said, I want to talk to you later. But that wasn't calculated.
At the end of the day, it is what it is, man. Bron did what he did. Stephen A. Smith didn't keep that same energy, couldn't keep that same energy by being at Disney, got his money, don't want to compromise that. But Bronny does need criticism, but you got to walk on eggshells. Can't go too hard on him because, LeBron going to pull up on you. The media's going to spin it and make you look like the bad guy. So we'll see what happens moving forward with Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron James.